Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining me. My name's Kirsten Hunter. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I'm just taking some time, literally on my way to work, to just talk through some of the areas that we cover in my private practice. So, I've had a private practice I've worked out 17 years, and this is just what we cover every day, and it's so beneficial to have this in your knowledge base. So, where shall we start? Today we're going to be covering an issue called active recharge and passive recharge. Now, that might sound not important, but it's incredibly important. I mean, here you are running through your life and you've got so much on your plate, and this is about your capacity to recharge the batteries so that you can go. So this is your fueling of the tank. And so many people don't understand what is involved here and how to fuel your tank, because when you don't have this figured out, we're just going in circles but not actually fueling up. So quite simply, there's something called active recharge and passive recharge. I think of it more as active recharge and passive drain, really, because passive recharge doesn't really recharge you, it drains you. And if we don't know which is which, we don't know how to get it right. So you've had a big day, you need to recharge, or you just had a big week, or you're just very stressed and you need to recharge. How do you do that so that you actually recharge? So active recharge is when you are engaged in something that is creative, or where you're learning, basically, or when you go into the state of flow, which is a whole other conversation, but basically it's when you find something that's expanding you, that's meaningful, and you dive in and time disappears. So that's state of flow, but we'll come back to that another time. So active recharge, yeah, it's when you are learning or you're being creative, you're expanding. So that might be if you are building something, doing some sort of craft. It could be reading a book, it could be watching a documentary, it could be watching comedy when it's intelligent, because there's a lot of intelligence in a lot of comedy. So that is when you come away from that enjoyable pursuit and you actually come back and you're more recharged. Your battery has refueled. Now, passive recharge, or as I like to call it, passive drain, is when you go and do something and you think it's leisure and you think it's going to make you feel better, but actually, when you come away, you feel more drained. It doesn't work. So much of our leisure pursuit actually makes us feel worse. And what would that be? Sadly, flicking through social media, unless you're learning something. It would be watching TV mindlessly when you're watching just, sitcoms going through. Anytime when you're watching movies, I guess, I hate to admit it, but unless you're we're talking extensive watching here. So when you go and you just sort of look at a screen and you blank out, when you come away from that screen, you're actually worse off. Your energy levels are worse, and that's because it's called passive. Well, it's not because it's called, but we call it passive recharge, or I call it passive drain. So basically, the brain really likes it when you feed it, and the brain recharges when you feed it. And so it really is quite a personal conversation. What are the things you can go and do to genuinely refuel that you really, really enjoy? It could be that you have a personal interest, and you want to go learn more about that. It's any areas of creativity, whether that be gardening, whether that be craft, whether that be something down the back shed, whether that could be learning a new skill of any direction, or it could even be planning your holiday and getting into the detail of learning what's around that area. Anytime that you're learning, that you're extending yourself, you're going to recharge. So, punchline, be smart with your brain. Go and refuel. Go and be creative, extend, and nourish. And then you're going to come away and your battery is going to be recharged, as opposed to staring at a typical screen, in which case you'll come away and feel drained. So your choice, your life, but at least be informed with knowing what you're up to with that. So I'm covering all of this because I have kind of woken up outside of my private practice world, and I've written over 10 years these series of books called Signposts for Living, and I cover 153 areas And it's get into a psychologist's brain and cover the expanse of clinical areas. So that's why there's 6 books. So they're coming out soon, but not yet. But you can catch me on KirstenHunter.com. Lots of blogs there if you want to check that out. Just really getting excited about sharing information. My Facebook, Kirsten Hunter Author. Instagram handle, Kirsten Hunter Author. Twitter, Kirsten Hunter AU. YouTube, Psych in Your Car. And podcast, Signposts for Living by Dr. Kirsten Hunter. So, catch you later. Thanks.